So how does an old, really established company survive a massive corporate upheaval? How does it get back to its roots and still find a way forward?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is. And that's the question at the heart of our deep dive today. We're focusing entirely on Turul Winery, which is a multi-generational cornerstone of California wine country.
Right. And our mission here is to take this whole stack of sources you've got, internal memos, neighbor complaints, all of it, and really synthesize the most urgent challenges.
Okay.
We need to understand the history of this place, dissect the crisis that, almost destroyed them, and then look at the mandate the new leadership is facing.
Which is a huge one.
Yeah.
Winning a major industry award that demands excellence everywhere. Winemaking, community, environment, the works.
Exactly. And Turul has such a specific foundation. It's not your typical California winery.
Not at all. We're talking about a family business founded way back, early 20th century, by a Hungarian immigrant, Laszlo Turul. And they don't just do Chardonnay or Pinot.
No, their whole identity is built around this unique California take on the famous Hungarian Tokaj dessert wine.
And that's absolutely key, isn't it? Tokaj it's a big deal.
Oh, it's huge. Traditionally from Hungary, it's incredibly complex, rich, sweet, often made from these special botrytized grapes. To create a version of that in California requires, almost obsessive work in the vineyard.
It really connects them to that whole pioneering heritage of California winemaking, people like Agustin Harasti.
It does. They exist right inside that context. But it's just incredible that a legacy built over generations could be nearly shattered by just a few years of bad management.
Yeah, let's unpack that. Let's talk about the crisis that threatened their legacy, starting with the James Saddle era.
Right. James Saddle, the general manager who left abruptly to join a competitor, Top Dog Winery.
His whole time there was, from what we can see, purely transactional.
That's the perfect word for it. The documents describe a style that was just driven by short-term numbers, and it actively, dismantled the culture that the owner, Bob Turul, had built.
The culture where employees were treated like family.
And nothing symbolizes that shift more than what happened to the physical spaces.
The soccer field. They paved over the employee soccer field.
It's unbelievable. You literally replace a symbol of community with concrete. It's such a clear message to send to your staff.
It's an act of, corporate vandalism, a total disrespect for the culture.
And it wasn't just that. The new tasting room and the hospitality center spaces that were meant to welcome people were just closed off. To employees, to the local community, to everyone.
The message was clear. This place is for profit, not for people.
Right. And that shift from family to transactional had immediate consequences.
Of course. We know high-profile people left right after James Saddle's exit. Key team members like Wendy and Sue.
And even Bob Turul himself had to step back from the day-to-day after a heart attack, though he's still involved as a mentor.
So the remaining staff, who are already stretched thin, are now dealing with a huge burden. Increased workloads, and just trying to rebuild trust.
It's a massive internal healing project they've got on their hands.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The problems didn't stop at the property line. They spilled right out into the neighborhood.
That breakdown inside the company, it just mirrored a total collapse of relations outside the gate.
Bob Turul used to have this open dialogue with the neighbors, right? Community events, goodwill.
All of that stopped. Under Saddle's profit-first approach, that engagement just ceased, and it turned local friends into, vocal opponents.
And their complaints were very specific.
Oh, very. We're talking direct environmental issues. Hard fertilizing techniques which cause runoff and degrade the local soil and water quality.
A huge departure from their old organic methods.
Completely. And then you had the daily nuisances on top of that.
The traffic, the noise, the light pollution from the vineyard operations.
Parking issues during events, it all just created this lasting friction.
And it got serious. It escalated to a formal legal threat.
It did. The new leadership just got a letter from the neighbors. Now, the tone was apparently more conciliatory than before, but it still had a very clear warning.
Collaborate and fix this, or we'll see you in court.
Basically, yes. They are in an existential crisis with their own community.
So a crisis of culture, a crisis of community, and that brings us straight to the need for innovation, especially on the environmental side.
And they are so behind the curve here.
Because they're still day harvesting, stubbornly day harvesting.
They absolutely are. And sustainability isn't just a buzzword in premium winemaking anymore. It's a prerequisite for quality. Harvesting during the heat of the day is a major problem.
Okay, so for those of us not in the vineyard, explain why night harvesting is so critical for a producer like Turul.
It's a triple win, it really is. First, quality. Grapes harvested at night are cool. That means they don't start fermenting early, and you don't need tons of energy to chill them.
Cooler fruit, better wine. Makes sense.
Second, the environment. Less energy for chilling means a smaller carbon footprint and a lower utility bill.
Okay, and the third.
Worker welfare. Harvesting is hard work. Doing it in the cool of the night instead of the baking sun just massively reduces the strain on your staff. It's a necessary strategic move for them.
So if we connect all this, the operational crisis, the cultural one, it all comes back to this big internal strategic debate they're having now.
Yes, this is the identity crisis. They have to choose between two very different and, frankly, very risky futures.
And this is all dressed up as a portfolio review.
It is. On one side, you have what we're calling the ultra-premium advocates. They want to shrink the lineup drastically to just their two flagship wines.
The Suprema Cabernet Sauvignon and their niche quintessential Muscatel, that unique Tokai-style wine.
Exactly. And their thinking is, basically, it's a cleansing. By getting rid of the lower-priced table wines that Saddle pushed, they think they can wash away his transactional focus.
So they're betting that by focusing only on those two prestigious labels, they can restore the brand's high-status reputation.
That's the bet.
But wait a minute. We know from the sources they're financially stressed. Turmoil, people leaving. Isn't it dangerously idealistic to shed reliable revenue streams right now?
That is the absolute core of the conflict.
They need cash flow to fix all this.
And that's the argument from the other side, the cautionary side. They're saying prestige is great, but financial stability right now is non-negotiable.
If they cut off that income, they could just collapse entirely.
It's a real risk. This decision isn't about next year's profit. It's about deciding if they want to be a stable family winery or an ultra-exclusive label that's, fragile.
So the new GM has to find this almost impossible balance. Adopt that prestigious identity to overcome the past, but keep enough money coming in to survive the present.
The entire fate of the Turul name really hinges on that single choice.
And all of this is happening under the enormous pressure of one specific, very public goal.
The Spirit of the Wine Award. They're vying for it this year.
And this award, it's not just some trophy for the best tasting wine, is it?
No, not at all. It's a validation test for the whole business. It's an accountability mechanism. It demands excellence across 4 pillars.
Okay, what are they?
Superior winemaking quality, genuine innovation, documented environmental stewardship, and this is the crucial one for Turul robust community engagement.
So they could make the best Muscatel in their history. But if the neighbors are still threatening to sue and they're still day harvesting?
They won't win.
Yeah.
Simple as that. The award forces them to fix the entire systemic mess that Saddle left behind, not just the wine.
It mandates progress in the exact areas they've neglected.
Precisely. And this goal aligns perfectly with the owner, Bob Turul's guiding philosophy, his belief that employees are family.
And the sources mention his focus on flow theory. For listeners who aren't familiar, what does that look like in a vineyard?
It's really about the psychology of craftsmanship. Flow is that state of deep focus where you lose track of time because the challenge perfectly matches your skill.
So in the winery, that means creating a culture where people feel mastery and find real joy in their work.
Yes, and that sustained attention to detail, born from genuine engagement, is what ultimately produces world-class wine. It's the complete opposite of James Saddle's transactional style.
They're also bringing in advisors to help navigate this, including this almost mythical figure, Mr. Fligby.
Right, a trusted advisor known for timely guidance. At the end of the day, Turul's success now hinges on harmonizing its past, that spirit of Laszlo Turul, with the modern demands of environmental and economic reality.
Their story is just a compelling look at what happens when a legacy business loses its way.
It is. They have to overcome that autocratic legacy, symbolized by the paved soccer field, while at the same time implementing future-proof standards like night harvesting, all under the scrutiny of this award.
It's a profound race for renewal, fought in the vineyards and the boardroom.
And it raises a really important question for any business, doesn't it? If true, lasting quality relies not just on your product, but on the community and the culture around it, what happens when you decide the bottom line is more valuable than your history? The answer for Turul Winery will determine if its legacy is defined by a dessert wine or by renewal. We'll leave you to consider whether the spirit of the wine is a Title I in the cellar or at the negotiation table with angry neighbors.